Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting God, we give you thanks for giving us another day. We ask your blessing upon our nation, bless the work of the members of this house. May they work diligently to bring about solutions to the pressing issues of these times. Bless all the men and women across our country, especially those who work in the service of others. Today we offer special prayers for the teachers and assembly staff of our nation's schools as they resume classes today. Pray also for police, medical personnel, and members of our civil service. May all that is done this day be for your greater honor and glory, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
You ready? This House is in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, March 28th, 2024 to be deferred. Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
Minutes be deferred. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby deferred.
Announcements by Your Honor the Speaker. Messages from Her Excellency the President. Petitions, papers.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Lady, audited financial report and financial statements of the Grantley Adams International Airport for the year 2020 to 2021. Also, the audited financial report and financial statements of the Grantley Adams International Airport for the year 2021 to 2022, as well as the audited financial report and financial statements of the Grantley Adams International Airport for the year 2022 to 2023. I'm also commanded to lay the loan contract number 5846 OCBA between the Government of Barbados and the Inter-American Development Bank, Climate Resilient and Sustainable Integrated Coastal Zone Management, as well as the Barbados Revenue Authority Amendment Order 2024. I'm also commanded to lay the 2022 annual report of the Department of Emergency Management.
Government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills.
Honourable Member St. Joseph.
Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of the Criminal Procedure Amendment Bill of 2024, the first reading of the Stormwater Management Bill 2024, the first reading of the ICC Cricket World Cup West Indies Bill 2024, the first reading of the Visiting Police Forces ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 Bill of 2024, and to move the first reading of the Shipping Domestic Vessels Bill 2024.
Questions that the aforementioned bills be read a first time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 11, in the name of the Honourable Senior Minister, Attorney General, and Minister of Legal Affairs, to move the second reading of the ICC Cricket World Cup West Indies Bill 2024.
Honourable Member for St. Joseph.
Mr. Speaker, there's another bill on the order paper, and that has to do with visiting police forces during the Cricket World Cup, and that is order number 12. Given, Mr. Speaker, that the two bills are inextricably intertwined and are both for the purpose of facilitating that tournament, I beg leave of your good self to have these matters debated in a cognate debate.
The questions that order 11 and 12 be debated as a cognate debate, given the fact that they're inextricably linked. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. Orders 11 and 12 will be debated as a cognate debate.
Mr. Speaker, in another few weeks, Barbados will be one of the host countries of the men's T20 tournament. This tournament, Mr. Speaker, has come again to the Caribbean. I believe the last time we had this good fortune was in 2010. And before that, Mr. Speaker, Barbados was proud to be a pivotal partner in the hosting of Cricket World Cup 2007. And on that occasion, Mr. Speaker, the finals was held in Barbados. Mr. Speaker, there are two people who were in cabinet at the time, the Honourable Prime Minister and myself. But even though we are the only two who were in, and I think member for St. Michael, Trevor? St. Michael East. But notwithstanding that, only a few of us were in cabinet at that time, or in parliament at that time, sir. The whole of Barbados braced for an extraordinary spectacle and an extraordinary opportunity. At that time, Mr. Speaker, we had been preparing for a Cricket World Cup for about 3 years. And I remember the absolute excitement that we had when Barbados submitted its bid book, and when the region as a whole was announced as the successful bidder for that particular games, those particular games. And the excitement that Barbados had at being awarded the finals. There is perhaps less excitement on this occasion. We've gone this way before. But notwithstanding, sir, this is a tremendous opportunity for Barbados and Barbadians. I believe, sir, that you will hear more about that during the course of this debate. You will notice, sir, that we have determined that it is in order for these two bills to be done in all of their stages in the lower house today. And that is because, Mr. Speaker, there is not so much urgency, but there is a short time left for us to put these bills in place. This is a coordinated effort, Mr. Speaker. There are 6 CARICOM member states who are the host countries for this particular tournament. And just for the fullness of the record, I remind the Chamber that these 6 are Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad. What we have been trying to do, Mr. Speaker, is to move in lockstep in relation to the arrangements. And of course, as long as you're looking to do something like this on a multilateral level, coordination is key. And we therefore have been, as host countries, having a series of meetings with Cricket World Cup under the aegis of CARICOM, under the aegis of our Council of Ministers of National Security and Law Enforcement, and under our Legal Affairs Committee, so that we can all make sure that we are on the same page. I said, Mr. Speaker, that we've gone this way before because in 2007 we had to do exactly the same thing, even though the requirements on that occasion were significantly broader in nature and perhaps in some respects more stringent. But the point is, this is not a tournament being hosted by Barbados alone, and therefore Barbados is able to strike out ahead. This is a tournament being hosted by 6 Caribbean countries. We know that the US is hosting games, but they don't factor into this particular discussion. And therefore, because we are hosting, because we all had to sign the identical agreement with Cricket West Indies, because we've all made the exact same commitments, it has been important for us to coordinate our efforts. And even though we are coordinating our efforts, Mr. Speaker, Barbados is first to the post. Because while today we are passing our legislation, my understanding that the other 5 host countries are shortly to do theirs. St. Lucia will be passing theirs on the 7th of May. Trinidad will be doing theirs next week. Antigua and Barbuda will be doing theirs next week. Barbados is ahead of the game. But even though we're ahead of the game, we're still a little bit close to the wire. Because, Mr. Speaker, the first officials who are expected to arrive in the region are expected to arrive around the 15th of May. So even though the tournament itself does not start until the 1st of June and run until the 30th of June, we're expecting officials, journalists, a whole set of people to come into Barbados, come into the region, in fact, by the 15th of May. And that, therefore, is the the time that we have set as host countries, as governments of host countries, by which we have to have everything in place. Now, it is for me, sir, to speak about the acts, the bills that we are looking to pass today, and it is perhaps for the Minister of Sports and others to speak about the other things that are being done in Barbados to facilitate Cricket World Cup. For my part, Mr. Speaker, and as Attorney General, I have had the responsibility of making sure that our security stance is fully stood up and prepared for any eventuality during the course of these games. I am proud to say, sir, that among the host countries, Barbados has taken a leadership role in trying to make sure that everybody is on the same page. It would be wrong for me, Mr. Speaker, to discuss in any detail the security arrangements that are being put in place, but among them, you can tell, there's a contemplation of the possibility of having to bring in police officers from other territories to support our efforts, but not just into Barbados. Each of the host countries will be passing identical legislation so as to facilitate us doing the same thing and sharing police resources and other resources among those 6 countries. Now, Mr. Speaker, I have to say that back in 2007, as I said, we had 3 years to prepare. We had, on that occasion, Jamaica was involved. We put a lot of robust effort into making sure that we were ready. And, sir, a lot of the things that we put in place for 2007 are happily still with us today, because at the time we did them, we understood that they were going to be important legacy benefits. And I expect that my colleagues will point out to the country and to this chamber what some of those legacy benefits will be. But in addition to the physical legacy benefits and others, there have been some legacy benefits of Cricket World Cup in the law enforcement area that continue to serve us well. The formation of CARICOM impacts, the establishment of law enforcement agencies that are specialized under CARICOM impacts, our ability to do advanced passenger information. These are things that did not exist prior to 2007, but in 2007 we were only 6 years out of 9/11, and the world was in many respects a very different place, though some will argue that we seem to have gone full circle, and perhaps we are back to the same kind of place we were in those days. So we're going to be relying on a lot of those legacy institutions to provide viable support for us during the hosting of these games. As I said, Mr. Speaker, I do not propose to, and I hope that I am not asked to, because I will respectfully decline to go into any of the security arrangements, but suffice it to say, all of our agencies are ready. Mr. Speaker, we have made sure that our agencies are fully equipped. We've made sure that in terms of manpower, that we have the best possible manpower arrangements. We have been, both the Barbados Defense Force and the police service have had the benefit of some significant specialized training, and that specialized training continues as I speak. So there are a whole set of things that happen behind the scenes that the Barbadian public might not be aware of, but I want to give the country the assurance that we have spared no expense in making sure that from a security standpoint, Barbados is ready to host our share of these games, and Barbados, without doubt, is ready to host the finals. Mr. Speaker, the first bill, what we call the Ombudsman Bill, that is before Parliament, is taken in large measure from the bill that we use across the region in 2007. And in 2007, it was a new experience for us. We needed to deal with things like ambush marketing and things of that sort, things that had never really been in our contemplation. And so we've had the benefit, Mr. Speaker, of being able to rely on a lot of that work. We've changed a few things, but it has certainly made our job easier to get to this place. Mr. Speaker, I don't know that I want to go through the 51 clauses of the bill, but let me begin by saying a few things. This is sunset legislation. And sunset legislation, I think we can all understand what it is when we use the term sunset legislation. Normally, legislation only ceases to have effect when it is repealed. But sunset legislation is the exception to that rule, and it is simply a statutory arrangement where the bill itself states that the operation of the bill, the operation of the act when passed, will end on a particular date. Cricket World Cup, Mr. Speaker, ends on the 30th of June, and therefore the very last provision in this bill says this act expires on the 30th of June 2024. So all of the matters that are covered off in this act in terms of restrictions and so on will end on that particular date. However, and I suppose this is a nice jurisprudential discussion, an offense that you commit under this act while it is enforced, and for which you might be charged while it is enforced, does not evaporate on the 30th of June. So if a person might think, man, I can break the law because it is only the law until the 30th of June, and after that, you gotta let me go because, you know, like some mysterious thing, the charge vanishes. That is not the case. The obligations that are here, if you breach them in any way, the right to be charged for them and prosecuted for them and convicted and punished for them still persists even though the legislation has come to an end. So let's put that out there. But it is sunset legislation, so what it means is that any offenses that are created under this act when passed, after the expiration of the act, they cease to be offenses. They cease to be enforced. So what is it that this act is asking for us? Mr. Speaker, the act is providing that the venue or the venues at which games are going to be held are going to be in the exclusive possession of Cricket West Indies. In clause 5 of the bill, it says, Cricket West Indies shall, for the duration of a match period, have full and unrestricted control of the stadium, so declared pursuant to section 4.1. Now in Barbados, there are 4 stadia. Those locations are Weymouth, Windward Cricket Club, the University of the West Indies, cricket grounds, and obviously Kensington Oval. So those are the venues, those are the stadia that are being referred to under this bill. So during the match period, those particular facilities are to be in the exclusive possession of Cricket West Indies. The match period is going to be declared by the minister under the provisions of section 4, the clause 4.1 of this act. So that is something to come post the passing of this legislation. But obviously the match period is expected to be 1st June to 30th June. So this bill essentially guarantees that Cricket West Indies will have unrestricted control of the stadia during the match period. It is left to others to talk about those arrangements, but I believe that the country will have been told that the various stadia will be handed over to Cricket World Cup by the middle of May. And my understanding is that we are definitely on course for that. So, given that that these 4 places will be within the exclusive control of Cricket World Cup, Cricket West Indies during the match period, what does that mean? Mr. Speaker, we have always, I suppose, had a very liberal approach to cricket. They used to call it calypso cricket, perhaps to indicate that there was not just a celebratory mood, but perhaps a lack of formality. But when it comes to this kind of game, Mr. Speaker, where hundreds of millions of dollars are being invested, then it stands to reason that the promoters are going to require that the host nation permits them or facilitates them to exploit the maximum benefit from the tournament. Those benefits include the right of advertising. So you will not be able to advertise whatever you feel like in the venues. These are events that are going to be sponsored by global companies, and they need to make sure that those rights are protected. This is standard. You know, and familiar to us, there's some when you have a promotion, a Mount Gear promotion, you can't sell one-eye man. If you get a freezer from Banks, you can't put Guinness or Corona or Caribbean in it. So really, when we talk about these things, they're not alien concepts. They're concepts that have the application in small ways, but they also have the application in larger ways. An individual who is making a significant investment wants to guarantee the return on that investment. And that guarantee requires certain assurances to be given to them. And in this context, these assurances are given by these host states in the statute. So the venues are going to be in the exclusive possession and domain of Cricket West Indies. So they have the final say. But of course, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to matters relating to law enforcement and public safety are always paramount. So our health officials, never mind that they have exclusive possession, our health officials still continue to have an overriding responsibility to not just the Barbadians, but also to the people who are going to be living and enjoying the celebration there. So the health inspectors will still have full authority. The police department will still have full authority. The fire service will still have full authority. All of our civil organizations that have a responsibility to maintain the safety and sanctity of the state and of the individuals at Cricket World Cup will have an unfettered discretion and responsibility to deal with the matters under their purview in the stadium. But that relates to their statutory responsibility to make sure that things are done in a safe way. So the point is, even though CWI will have exclusive possession, will have domain over the stadia, it is not such as excludes the civil authorities of Barbados from carrying out their job. So let there be no doubt. Cricket World Cup, that organization and its affiliates will have the right to say who can come in. In other words, in order to be a journalist or something like that, you have to be accredited. The accreditation is their responsibility. You can only come in if they sell you tickets. That is their responsibility. You can only be a concessionaire if they give you a concession. That is their responsibility. But regardless of who the concessionaire is, if the public health inspectors come and your warmers are not the right temperature, as they say in St. Lucie, crapo, smoke it pipe. So I'm just making the point, and I want to reiterate it. We are not giving up full responsibility over the facility for all purposes. They have control of the facility so that they can manage the things under their remit. But all of our civil authorities continue to have every ounce of power in relation to what goes on there, so long as it is a matter that they have control over. Mr. Speaker, sale and distribution of CWC 2024 tickets. Now, this has been a matter that has attracted some attention in the press. There are people who have been saying they've been trying to buy tickets for the longest time and they can't get them. Let us remember that the organizers of, this is their tournament, the organizers of Cricket World Cup, this T20 Blast, this is their tournament. It is not the tournament of the government of Barbados. We bid to be able to host in our facilities a number of games, including the finals, as has Trinidad for their games and other jurisdictions for their games. But it is not our games. We are the hosts of the games. And therefore, it is entirely within the power of the organizers of the games to claim the rights for tickets and so on. That is not something you can take away from them. It is their games. But they have asked us, as they did back in 2007, to give them the protection of the law so that they don't have to go through a civil process in order to prevent people from infringing certain basic rights. So they require the right to produce and distribute the tickets, their tickets. And we've been asked to, and we've agreed as we did then, to legislate that a person without written authorization of CWI cannot sell any tickets or any article that is represented to be such a ticket for admission to a CWC 2024 activity. People the world over scalp tickets. The world over people scalp tickets. Whether you're going to an NBL basketball game, a football game in Spain or in England, a concert in Kensington Oval, people scalp tickets. They scalp tickets in Barbados for our shores. For our show, they're sure they're going to scalp some for Reggae Weekend this weekend. This statute is intended to protect the organizers of Cricket World Cup by prohibiting in law scalping and things of that sort. But it also prevents people from buying tickets and offering them as raffles, as prizes in raffles, things of that sort. And it is understandable, as I said, sir, we've gone this way before. There are a number of other arrangements that have to be made, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people are going to be coming into Barbados to work during Cricket World Cup. To work during Cricket World Cup. There will be journalists, there will be photojournalists, there will be medical personnel, there will be physiotherapists, there will be coaches, there might even be some religious support staff, I don't know. But when these teams travel, they travel with a huge entourage, many of whom will be working. Barbados will be the place that they're working from. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we have committed, as we did then, that in instances where people will require work permits, that those work permits are going to be facilitated. I don't think there could be any issue at all with that. In relation to import and export duties, again, this is standard. A lot of things are going to be coming in. There will be sponsors who have special energy drinks for the team, special vitamin supplements. There might be people on a special diet bringing in medical supplies. They're obviously bringing in sporting equipment, a whole set of stuff, and so as to facilitate the games, as we did back in 2007, and as was done under the Democratic Labour Party when they hosted the games in 2010. All of these things are facilitated free of duties and so on. Again, or naturally, where income is derived by certain people, we call them designated persons in this bill, a person who is not ordinarily resident in Barbados, those persons are exempted from tax. And again, Mr. Speaker, as I said, we've gone this way before, and designated persons are identified in the bill. I'm not going to read the long list of designated persons, but it says IBC, ICC, CWI, and their respective employees, consultants, officials, agents, and representatives. Again, makes perfect sense. They're coming into Barbados for a few days for the purposes of these games, and they're moving from island to island to island to island. It will be virtually impossible if for every island, for the 8 or 9 days that they spend the island, they had to get work permits. If every island, they had to register for income tax or corporation tax, and then tax administration is trying to figure out, well, how much of that is attributable to Barbados and how am I going to get it? Apart from the administrative nightmare, it just makes good sense, Mr. Speaker. These are things that we do in a larger way in the tourism sector. We've done that for many kinds of investments. This Cricket World Cup is narrow in scope, and there should be no objection at all to that. The bill goes on, Mr. Speaker. It deals with entry into the facility. Unauthorized entry, unless authorized by CWI, no person shall during a match period enter or be present in or on any part of the playing field, any other part of a stadium, if it is indicated that entry into that part is not permitted. Any part of any other CWC 2024 venue, if it is indicated that entry into that part is not permitted. Again, Mr. Speaker, common sense and practical things that we've put in place. I imagine that there are a few members of the particular club that has its home at Kensington Oval, and as happened on the last 2 occasions when we had Cricket World Cup, those membership entitlements are suspended. So, but again, there's been I think everybody accepts that that is standard and the way to go. So I don't anticipate there should be any pushback from that particular requirement. Clause 17 of the bill stipulates the kind of behavior that is not permitted during the match period or in any CWC 2024 venue. There's a whole list of them. You can't erect any structure or any display or sign or banner or any other thing unless authorized by CWI. You can't block any stair, steps, side, aisle, gangway unless authorized by CWI. You can't throw any stone, bottle, or missile or use any dangerous object. You can't misuse, deface, damage, or tamper. So, Mr. Speaker, all of these are perfectly standard things, and arguably they are to be located in other parts of the laws of Barbados. But given the narrow focus of this game, it is eminently sensible to have these provisions all encompassed here so that you don't need to be wondering where the law is or what particular law applies. Mr. Speaker, in relation to sale of goods or services, this is often a problem, or it is often things that we agitate about. Everybody wants to be able to come in and sell, not permitted. Again, these are the rights of the organizers of the game, and that's why we go back to saying at the beginning of the bill that they have exclusive possession of the venue. So no person shall, without the written authorization of CWI, hawk, sell, offer, or display for sale, or to distribute to members of the public any goods, services, flyers, or pamphlet, collect money or orders from members of the public for goods or services in the CWC 2024 venue during a match period. So you can't do it without the written authorization of CWI. This is what permits them to determine who the concessionaires are going to be and what kind of activity takes place within the cricket venue. So, Mr. Speaker, there's provision for control of advertising, again, to stop ambush marketing. So, essentially, they have their trademarks, and they want to ensure that those trademarks are protected, and therefore, people shall not in section 25, it says, except with the written authorization of CWI, a person shall not willfully broadcast, display, make, or publish any advertisement, statement, mark, or image which relates to or is connected with CWC 2024. Ambush marketing, Mr. Speaker, is simply where a third party uses the trademarks of another person to associate that person with his goods. So, I have to make up something. So suppose we had a particular brand of beer. And that particular brand of beer wants to benefit from the hype and glamour of the CWC logo. They can't put their logo on their beer bottle. They can't associate the trademarks of CWC and this tournament with their particular thing, with their particular product by adding it into their ads. That's ambush marketing. So these are the things that are prohibited in the context of CWC. Mr. Speaker, on the last occasion that we had Cricket World Cup, we had various restrictions in relation to what could be brought into the stadium. We have met with Cricket World Cup, and they've said to us that they're going to change up the list of things, a list of restricted items. So in the stadium, Mr. Speaker, there are things that are prohibited. On the last occasion, they had a total of 13 items that were absolutely prohibited. On this occasion, they have said we can be flexible. That list is now down to 10. However, the restricted items, on that occasion, the list of restricted items numbered 15 items. On this occasion, the list of restricted items numbers only 5. On the last occasion, these items were restricted, and I don't want to bore the chamber with all these things, but bands and musical instruments, they were restricted on the last occasion. And I think everybody would remember in 2007, a well-known teacher and musician who pretty much spearheaded the entertainment and cheering section in Kensington Oval during international games, complained bitterly that the spirit of the games would be lost because the drums and the trumpets and so on and bugles and so on that we're accustomed having in the games, those things could not get into Kensington Oval. It created a tremendous amount of furor. As I said, on that occasion, there were 15 things that were not allowed, that were on the restricted items list. So as I said, there's a prohibited list, so certain things you can't bring in. So just for completeness, you can't bring in animals other than service animals. You can't bring in bicycles. You can't bring in commercial, video, photographic, or audio equipment. Can't bring in compressed gas canisters or other flammable items. Can't bring in dangerous items or weapons. Can't bring in drones or unmanned aerial vehicles. You can't bring in glass bottles or metal cans. You can't bring in narcotics other than prescribed. You cannot bring in offensive or political signage, so I guess the member for Christchurch South will be very happy to know that members of his party will not bring in ads asking for his removal. It's not allowed. They're not going to let it come into CWC, and I support that.
All right. We need him there.
And anything to help out a drowning man. Anything to help out a drowning man. You're not allowed to bring in promotional or commercial material. That's the list now. In relation to restricted items, the restricted items are coolers, lunch boxes larger than 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters. So you can bring in coolers of a small kind. So if it is larger than 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters, then can bring it in. You cannot bring in folding chairs that are not intended for the mount. So we know we're gonna have mounts, so you can bring in folding chairs for there, but you can't bring in folding chairs to put in the aisles. You cannot bring in large banners and flags or flag sticks above 1.6 meters in length. So anything smaller, you can bring in and wave and enjoy yourself, but anything bigger than that, you can't. You cannot bring in musical instruments that cannot fit under your seat or on your lap, or that is louder than 70 decibels. So, bring in the bugle, bring in the trumpet. The tuba, you have a bit of a problem. All right? But the smaller musical instruments, you can bring it in. And you cannot bring in tents or umbrellas that are not intended for the mount. So I think it is fair to say that CWI has worked with us to try to make sure that we can have games that are reflective of the Caribbean spirit and that are not going to be a sterile exercise in bat and ball, but something that will be supported and undergirded by who we are. And I think that is, I have to pay them credit for that. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned earlier the tickets, and I neglected to say, and I have to give the Prime Minister credit. In fact, the entire region has expressed tremendous gratitude for the Prime Minister for her intervention on the matter of cricket tickets. When we met in Georgetown at the heads meeting, and I'm not a head, I was just I went along with. Cricket World Cup had said all of our tickets are being sold online. That's that. And it was a source of tremendous pride, not just me as a member of the Barbados delegation, but to all of the CARICOM member states. And I've heard people, they even post on social media paying tribute to her about it. The Prime Minister said to Cricket World Cup, that cannot work. Everybody is in the Caribbean is not able to handle things online. Everybody doesn't have a credit card. Everybody doesn't have the facility with the online purchases. And therefore, in Barbados, I'm going to insist that you have physical box offices so that people can go and stand up in a line and do what they've been doing for years. Come and buy a ticket and have a ticket in the hand, to put it in the pocket, put it in the top pocket, in the wallet, and they feel good, and they know they have a ticket for cricket. I have constituents who will want to go to cricket, Mr. Speaker, and I can't guarantee them that they will get one from the box office, but the line might be real long. But we can be fairly sure that if they're required to go in the online environment to purchase a ticket, they may simply not get one. They may not get one because they might not be able to enter all the information. They may not have a credit card. They may not. I have constituents like that, so I know that you do as well. So the way to satisfy that particular interest group is to insist that physical tickets be made available for sale at the box office in Barbados, and that was where we drew the line in the sand. Cricket World Cup, Cricket West Indies made the concession and said, okay, we will do it. They have agreed to start out with 500 tickets. And while we know that 500 tickets is a drop in the bucket, they've agreed that based on ticket sales, that they will put more, if possible, into the physical box office to be available for local populations. Barbados having staked that claim, the other countries followed suit, and CWI agreed that similar arrangements will be made for each of the 6 member states. And therefore, while it is not a huge amount of tickets, it is still going to be possible for Barbadians to go and stand up in a line and purchase a physical ticket for the box office. As I said, Mr. Speaker, this bill is easy to commend because we've covered this ground before. I suppose I have to admit that it is, in fact, a signal honor to have been the AG responsible for it back in 2007, and I didn't know that it would come back to me. Happily, it didn't come back to haunt me, because we did a good job back in 2007, and we had no issues at all, and I'm happy to commend this particular bill to the Chamber as being adequate to satisfy our obligations to CWI and our obligations to Barbados and Barbadians, and to say to Barbadians that, in my respectful view, and I believe the view of the entire of this government, this bill correctly balances the interests of the organizers of the tournament with the interests of Barbadians who are hosting the tournament. The other bill, Mr. Speaker, is visiting police forces. I can say, Mr. Speaker, fairly safely that I think it's common knowledge that every country in CARICOM as a whole will not be at the same place in terms of security preparation or security readiness or even security capacity. That is standard. That is standard. If you think about it, Mr. Speaker, Barbados has just around 1,300 police officers. Guyana has about 4,500 police officers and another 2,000 or 3,000 auxiliaries. Guyana. But Guyana has a vast geographical territory. So and the population is also 3 times the size of ours. So you can understand that multiplying our population size by 3 and multiplying their police size by 3 is not a practical way of approaching it. They have a much greater geography. Trinidad, a much bigger population, a much bigger police service, much bigger army. But on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, we have smaller countries in the OECS. We have St. Vincent, we have St. Lucia, we have Antigua and Barbuda. I think I'm missing somebody. St. Vincent. Those countries, they're smaller than we are, smaller than Barbados is. They have smaller police forces, they have fewer resources available. But the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that we are only as strong as the weakest link. And while Barbados is not the strongest link, we are certainly not the weakest link either. And it is important, therefore, for us to make sure that the games hosted among these 6 member countries, hosted by these 6 member countries, are able to go off without any hitches. You see, sir, if there is a problem in Antigua, then the entirety of the games is disrupted. So we don't get to say, well, man, no, the Barbados games Barbados games good, we can be all right, but the ones in St. Lucia get disrupted because of some criminal element. You know that St. Lucia's having some serious challenges with homicides and so on, and there's some instability. We've had to support them by sending police officers in previously. And if there's a serious problem in St. Lucia, it will not just affect St. Lucia, it will affect the entire viability of the tournament in every way. And therefore, it is incumbent on us to make sure that even the weaker links are shored up. And while I said Barbados is not the strongest link and not the weakest link, we've had occasion in Barbados to require forces from overseas to come into Barbados. I remind you of when Glenderry was burned, and we had that situation of instability there. We did not have enough police officers to be able to undertake the regular policing duty of Barbados and still deal with the tragedy and the difficult situation that was happening at Glenderry. On that occasion, we brought in troops from overseas under the aegis of the RSS, the Regional Security System. But what we've put in place among the host countries is an arrangement, just as we did last time for CEDA Cricket World Cup 2007, for visiting police forces to come in to support efforts. Now, the games are not all being played at the same time. Different issues are going to arise, but it was felt back then, and we still feel it is important to ensure that the opportunity to bring in police officers from overseas is dealt with in a structured fashion. It is dealt with under the law so that what requirements are there are, first of all, common among all the states, and also easy to spot, easy to see, we know what they are. So when if police officers, and we didn't require any during 2004, 2010, 2007 to 2010 tournaments, but it is possible, sir. And we see that with the instability happening in the Middle East and in other places, there's a possibility of risk to us. And we have to guard against that risk. And therefore, this visiting forces bill is one that will establish clearly what the rights and obligations are of visiting police forces if they're needed. If they're needed and they come in, they are under the jurisdiction of the Commissioner of Police. So if we brought in police from Jamaica, if we brought in police from Trinidad, St. Lucia, wherever it is, to support our police officers, they're not coming in to function under their own command. They'll be coming in to function under the directions of our Commissioner of Police. And the bill says at 7.1 that while on duty in Barbados, that person or those persons will perform the same duties under and in accordance with the directions of the Commissioner or Commissioner in the same manner and in all respects as if he were a member of the police force. There are immunities that are here. These are standard, notwithstanding section 7.2, the members of a visiting police force shall be immune from prosecution in criminal court proceedings in Barbados in respect of actions taken in the course of their official duty. I think it's important to repeat that, sir. They have this immunity in respect of actions taken in the course of their official duties. Now, Mr. Speaker, this provision and this kind of legislation is found globally. So this is not a Barbados concoction. There's ample precedent across the globe for protection of visiting forces, whether those are visiting police forces or whether those are visiting troops, visiting military troops, sir. And these kind of protections and immunities and so on are absolutely standard. And you know, the important thing is that we hope we don't need them, but if we do need them, we have to have it. Now, Mr. Speaker, in another 2 weeks, we're going to be hosting Trade Winds. And Trade Winds is an operation. Well, I think everybody know what Trade Winds is by now. It is where the Southern Command of the U.S., in conjunction with regional military forces, do exercises in the region. And so we will have visiting forces coming in. And those visiting forces get the same kinds of immunities. So there's ample precedent for this. This is nothing that is unusual, nothing that is concocted. Now, sir, I make the point that I hope we don't need to use it. And we are preparing ourselves to make sure that the Barbados Police Service, together with the ample support from the Barbados Defense Force, will be able to handle any eventuality. But if we need it, Mr. Speaker, we have a statutory basis for bringing in that policing support and for establishing a legislative framework under which they will operate. The final thing that I will want to mention, and it is not in legislation, but it is associated with what we're doing, and it has to do with the mutual recognition of visas. The visa framework across the 6 host countries is not the same. As you know, Mr. Speaker, visas operate, and the visa arrangements tend to operate on the basis of reciprocity and other factors. And so, for example, an Australian does not need a visa to come to Barbados. But an Australian needs a visa to go to Guyana. An Australian needs a visa to go to Trinidad. On the other hand, somebody coming in from Afghanistan will need a visa to come to all the CARICOM states. Somebody coming in from Oman will need a visa for all the CARICOM states. Pakistan will need a visa for most, if not all. India will need a visa for some, but not others. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are obviously going to anticipate the cricketing nations that are participating in the tournament to have followings, but then there are going to be other people from other territories, other jurisdictions, who want to come into the host countries for the purpose of cricket as well. When we hosted Cricket World Cup in 2007, Mr. Speaker, as I said, we had a long lead up, and we were able to put a CARICOM visa in place. On this occasion, having been notified that we were being considered for the games around the middle of last year or early last year, I think, and then to have the bids and so on being submitted last year, there was absolutely no opportunity to put a CARICOM visa arrangement in place. That CARICOM visa arrangement was extraordinarily complex. It was very expensive. We had to station officers all over the world, basically, to be able to facilitate the CARICOM visa. It had to have special security visas, special security characteristics. It had to be specially created with those security characteristics and so on. Then you had to figure out how we were going to pay for it and who was going to administer it. We simply had no time to put that kind of arrangement in place. So, what do? Obviously, it is a tremendous disincentive for a traveler to come to watch cricket in multiple countries, to have to apply for a visa for each one. Think about it. Somebody from I don't know, Pakistan, coming into the region and to be told they want to watch cricket, but they got to get visas for all six of the host countries. That is not only a cost, but it is a process. And we recognize that it will be a disincentive for travelers. And in the circumstances, Mr. Speaker, we determined that the best mechanism to address the situation would be for us to mutually recognize each other's visas during that period. Now remember, Cricket World Cup, the tournament is 1st June to 30th June, but I mentioned to the chamber earlier that people will be coming into Barbados from as early as the 15th of May. And therefore, whatever visa arrangements we put in place have to be available from the 15th to facilitate travel for the 15th of May. Now, what we are saying by mutual recognition is that if you require a visa to come to one of the host countries, if you also require a visa to travel to other of the host countries, then the visa for the one will be recognized by the other 5 countries. I used the example of Australia earlier. Australians don't require visas to come to Barbados, but they require visas to go to Trinidad and to go to Guyana. So a cricketer or a fan from Australia who is coming through the region, they stop in Antigua first, they're good. They stop in Barbados first, they're good. No visa required. But he wants to go to watch the game tomorrow in Trinidad. He needs a visa for Trinidad. Now, the fact that he came into Barbados and didn't need one doesn't help him in Trinidad. He needs a Trinidad visa. But if he also plans to go to Guyana, all that we're saying is, when he has that visa for Trinidad, Guyana will say, Mr. Brown, you have a visa for Trinidad. You do not need to get a separate visa from Guyana. We will recognize that visa. Now, Mr. Speaker, that does not mean that the Guyanese immigration officer will let you in, because we all know that the fact that you have a visa does not guarantee a right of admission. There are people who have visas to the U.S., and when you land in the U.S. Border Control tell you, I know you got a visa, but I ain't letting you in. And under standard international law, under standard domestic law, that is the right of any immigration authority. But what we are saying is, as long as you've applied for a visa for us, as long as an Australian applies for a visa for Trinidad, he does not need to apply also for a visa for Guyana. The Guyanese authorities will recognize and respect that visa issued by Trinidad as being applicable to Guyana. I hope that makes it clear. So we're going to recognize each other's visas for the purposes of Cricket World Cup. But it is an obvious thing, so let me address it. People will be coming who want to do cricket. Somebody may have some Australian might have planned to come to Australia and Guyana because they want to look for oil or something, not out doing cricket. They may not even like cricket. What do we do during this period? Same thing. Same thing. Because it will create an artifice if you say to a fellow says, well, I come in for cricket. You say, all right, come. I come in to fed. Don't come. It don't make any sense. So during this period, mutual recognition of visitors among the host countries will be applied to all visa requiring travelers, simply because it makes no sense trying to disaggregate them. Okay? We think that this system is going to be effective, and therefore our regulations have been prepared, and again, commonality across the 6 countries, and therefore across the 6 countries, Mr. Speaker, the same kind of regulation will be applied. Mr. Speaker, this Games coming in June represents a tremendous opportunity for us. It will boost our tourism arrivals. It will boost the expenditure in Barbados, in the region, on food, entertainment, drinks, taxi men, everything. It is costing us to host these games. I remember in the last year or so, somebody said, well, Oinafa spent, rest his soul, Oinafa spent $200 million on Cricket World Cup and we ain't get it back yet. Those are the kinds of arguments that some will make. Some will make those kinds of arguments. But I venture, Mr. Speaker, that the investment that we made for CWC in 2007, and on which the last administration not just built, but relied when they hosted the games in 2010, continue to serve us. Some of those legacy arrangements, I said, that was included in the $200 million, had to do with our legacy security arrangements that continue to serve us well today. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand here not being the biggest of cricket fans, but being an ardent supporter of anything, Mr. Speaker, that provokes or causes Barbadians to take certain steps to improve that which we have. I support these games. I support, Mr. Speaker, the tremendous benefit that will accrue to Barbadians both directly and indirectly. And I commend these 2 pieces of legislation to this chamber wholeheartedly and ask that they receive the support of this parliament. I'm obliged.
Honourable Member, you have to move Art 11 first.
Beg to move. Sorry. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker, that the ICC Cricket World Cup, let me just give you the exact title. The ICC Cricket World Cup West Indies Act 2024 be read a second time. Second.
Next second.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move. Oh, okay.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I trust you and all of my colleagues had a pleasant Easter. Your Honor, I think the Honourable Member for St. Joseph, the Honourable Attorney General, just made a very significant confession that he is not a cricket fan. Beg your pardon? Oh, not a big cricket fan. He's a small cricket fan. He's not a big cricket fan. One would not have thought that someone of our generation would find it possible, being Barbadian, not to be a big cricket fan. And that's a matter of some regret. But of course, the LR James did say and did ask the question, what do they know of cricket who only cricket know? But he has made a very interesting confession that not even cricket he knows a lot about. And this is a debate that places cricket at its very center. And so, if we are discussing cricket, and since we know that cricket is a metaphor for life in its entirety in this region, in this country, to a large extent, I therefore want to introduce him to cricket, and I want to introduce him to other aspects of life that are touched by cricket. So I know this is a public debate, but I want to treat this as something of a conversation between myself and the Honourable Attorney General. I know he's very sensitive to criticism these days, and when he is criticized, he invokes the scriptures, and those who accuse them are described as men given to 5 of the cardinal sins. Well, I wish to assure him today that I am not given to any of the cardinal sins. This is a very frank and sober discussion between he and I, except that you, sir, will hear it and the public will hear it. So that I want to speak to the Attorney General today. Some of it will even be friendly. Some of it will even be friendly, but even if it is not friendly, you can be assured that it will be sober and that it will be some attempt to draw you in to the social realities that exist in the country that you must love so much. But I'm addressing you, sir, and addressing you on legislation which deals with cricket and the World Cup. I want to extend it I want to restrict it not to cricket, but to extend it to commerce, culture, the constitution of this country, and I will ask the government to give some accounting, financial accounting for this enterprise that is about to visit Barbados in the next few weeks. Now, there's a sense in which Cricket World Cups really constitute a convention, a Commonwealth convention. If there's anything that joins the Commonwealth apart from a past history of British rule, it is cricket. They're now trying to extend it to the United States, and I know Canada participated in a World Cup. Canada is as North American as it is also a Commonwealth country. But largely speaking, when we speak cricket and when we speak of cricket competitions, we're really describing a convention of Commonwealth countries. And therefore, this event, for that reason, becomes important. And it becomes important to be hospitable to our Commonwealth partners. And I do not challenge, I do not question the government's invitation of foreign police forces here, since if we are a host, one of the guarantees that a host wishes to give to his guests is that of safety. So I don't think Barbadians should be alarmed at the fact that there will be visiting police forces here. if under the dispensation of the present government, the police force is deficient in some way, not because of anything the police force has done to itself, but perhaps what has been done to the police force.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I just don't want the member to mislead the chamber. I've never said that there will be visiting police forces here. I've only said that this bill will facilitate us bringing police forces here to support our work if it turns out to be required. I also say quite clearly that we didn't need them in 2008 or in 2010 when his government did it. I don't expect we'll need them now. This is a bill in case we should need them.
I'm grateful for the clarification. So that the invitation is not active, the Honourable Attorney General has clarified that just in case he needs them, he will have them here, and I assume he means at short notice. And that is interesting, so that I'm grateful for the clarification. Barbadians are now aware that during World Cup, the Attorney General, in his vigilance, if he sees a need to bring his foreign forces in, so shall he do. Well, that is not going to interrupt my discourse. I was saying that, and I'm grateful for the clarification. I had addressed this chamber as to cricket and its significance to this entity called the Commonwealth. And cricket offers an opportunity to Barbados and this region to restate its commitment, not just to cricket, but to its membership of the Commonwealth, in spite of the Republican thrust. India is a republic and still they're a significant member of the Commonwealth. So that the Committee of Nations that exists within the Commonwealth, cricket really tends to fortify that relationship. Now, I'm not going to dwell on the possibility that we will have foreign police forces here. The learned Attorney General has clarified that. I want to focus on a more serious matter that has developed as a result of this festival of cricket. I began on cricket. I want to go to commerce. And I wonder how happy Barbadians should be that the government may have, and again, the Attorney General will have the opportunity to clarify this, but I don't think we should be happy that the government may have, and I'm speaking in very deliberate language and very cautiously, we are not happy that the government may have stated proposals for the removal of vendors along that Fontebelle Cheapside corridor during this festival. And I'm going to call it a festival of cricket. And the learned Attorney General will have a chance even now to clarify whether that is so or not. But it was ventilated in the media that some vendors would be removed, and I'm using the word removed. I'm not sure if the government said relocated, but that they would be removed. And we understood that to be along that corridor where people traverse before, during, and after games. Now, those of us who are far bigger cricket fans than the Honourable Member for St. Joseph would be aware that during test matches and even regional matches, the feature of Bridgetown and the feature of Fontebelle and Cheapside it became, I hate cliches, but it became a hive of activity. Vendors really featured prominently as a part of the cricketing landscape. You did not leave the Lower Green bus stand or the Fairchild Street bus stand, which he would have, I don't know if, I think that would have been his bus stand. People used to walk from Fairchild Street and the Lower Green, which was my bus stand, and walk to Kensington as teenagers and persons in our early 20s who did not have the luxury of private cars. And that walk was interesting because if you were late for the game, you knew what was the state of the game. Because if you stopped to buy an O'Henry, beg your pardon about the advertisement, or a bag of nuts, they could tell you precisely what was happening within Kensington. It was almost telepathic. They were not seeing the game, but everybody had a transistor and they had a sense because of the quality of the commentary then. You had a sense as to what was going on in Kensington. The commentators gave you a sense as to the entire ambience, the entire atmosphere within Kensington. So that the point is, the vendors constituted an important
Mr.
feature.
Speaker, on a point of order.
Beg your pardon.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition needs to bring absolute clarity to this accusation he's making, or as he shall refrain from bringing what is nothing more than public gossip into this honourable chamber. My ministry has given no instructions for the removal of vendors from Cheapside. And therefore, once that has not been an official decision by my ministry, a decision that has been taken by the Cabinet, I beg to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to remove those comments from the records because he is misleading the entire country. No such decision has been taken.
Continue, Honourable Member.
I am obliged to you, sir. The honourable member for Christ, where is he from there? We are both Southerners, St. Philip South. You and I have tended to have that collegiality based on being Southern Maine. I won't mislead the House, but clearly he's in a very fighting mood this morning. I'm glad that I have been able to get a smile from him, but when he objected, there was a certain aggression. No, I'm not going to mislead the House. I am saying to this House that it was ventilated in the newspapers of this country. Quarrel with the newspapers, don't quarrel with me. You corrected that. Well, I don't know where it came from, but if it is a fear that exists, I am entitled to speak to the fear that existed. Beg your pardon? You may want to address.
Honourable Member, continue, please.
Doesn't want to address you. Well, you haven't heard anything he has said. I am saying that a fear existed. And that fear was reflected in the media. The very credible media. This wasn't the bomb or the investigator. This was a credible publication in this country that, and not only within the media, but there were vendors down there, and there are vendors down there today who still live in fear that your government wants to remove them. And I am so relieved now that you have stated officially for the first time, that he has stated officially for the first time, that the very aggressive member for St. Philip South will douse his aggression with some cold water and decide not to remove them. So we are relieved. The public of Barbados, the vendors are relieved that you have no intention again to remove them. We are relieved to hear that, because if you had continued on that course, if he had continued on that course, Your Honor, I would have reminded him of the constitutional provision, I think it is section 22, you know it, sir, that speaks to freedom of movement in this country. Clearly, the honourable member for St. Philip South has had some legal advice.
Honourable member, you're going to open up yourself to a lot of side remarks, so prepare thyself. Prepare thyself, honourable member.
You know, sometimes I wish that the honourable member for St. Thomas would arrive at these hearings late. She came late this morning, but as soon as she walks in, she's informed. defending her colleague from St. Philip South. But having had that legal advice, I have no doubt that the change of mind, I'm saying there has been a change of mind, and I am happy that the minister has changed his mind.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, whilst it is true that the banter may be tolerated, there has never been a decision by my ministry to move any vendors from Cheapside or along the stretch. Therefore, there could not have been any change of mind.
Much obliged. I'm not speaking about a decision. The honourable member has just told the country that the decision has been taken not to remove them.
I said there was never a decision to move them.
But I understood you to be saying that...
Honourable member, please address
Yes,
the
yes.
chair.
I understand him to be saying...
Please address it.
I understood him to be saying that he can check Hansard. That a decision has been taken not to move them. So if a decision has been taken not to move them, has a decision been taken not to block this parliament?
Mr. Speaker, for the very last time.
Honourable member.
For the very last time,
Point
Mr.
of order.
Speaker, I, on a point of order, I have never, ever said that it was a decision taken not to remove them. Those were the words of the honourable member. I said no decision was ever made to remove the vendors from Cheapside. No decision was ever taken by my ministry. Therefore, the honourable member is misleading the House with gossip that he brought from the street. He didn't even check for the facts, and the facts are available in my ministry.
Again, Your Honour, I accept the clarification that government has decided not to move the vendors.
Never did.
So you have this... What's the decision, sir?
Honourable, please.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Unrelated government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it necessary to raise on a point of order. The honourable member and leader of the opposition, I assume, is misleading the House. Just to add some clarity, sir, the issue of the removal of any vendors taken by the government of Barbados is based, obviously, in many cases, on being able to remove persons because there are upgrades to facilities being done. This administration, just as we have done in other areas, and Oystins obviously is on the card for refurbishment, as the honourable member should indeed be aware of. There are obviously some discussions in relation to the vendors at Temple Yard. I guess Sheepside is in that surrounding area. And while no decision has been formally taken, if in fact we are to move the vendors in any area to be able to do any upgrades, obviously we will update the public at the appropriate time. So the minister is actually correct that no decision has been taken, but I think I would want it not to go there that we are moving vendors and we're disrupting people and we're stopping people from having economic activity in the country. In fact, what will happen if anybody is to be removed is that there are always discussions with those vendors. There are discussions with the vendor associations that represent those vendors. And those discussions usually revolve around how do we ensure that people continue to earn economic activity. So I understand the fear-mongering of the honourable leader of the opposition, but I wish to assure the vendors, the vendor associations, and the general public that anything that this government does in relation to vendors, because our record is sound on vendors, and improving the lives and enfranchising people in this sector, that it will not be to disrupt, but in fact to be able to improve the lives of these ordinary Barbadians, sir.
Grateful for the further clarification from the honourable member for St. Michael South East. Another South, another Southerner. That any decision taken in relation to the removal of vendors is related to upgrades. So the honorable members for St. Philip South say that he has said what he has said, that there is no decision taken to remove. I thought he had said that a decision was taken not to move, but he says a decision has not been taken to move. Now, the honorable member for St. Michael South East adds to it by way of further clarification. And that honorable member says that if there's any decision to remove, it is related to the need to refurbish. Well, the plot thickens. And as between the Southerners, St. Philip South and St. Michael South East, the two of them will now have to come to a common voice as to what is government's policy. Is it a decision taken not to remove, or is it a decision taken?
Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I regret to have to do this, and I know that during the estimates there were challenges by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition as it relates to understanding what various government departments do. I think the member would be aware that matters relating to upgrades usually fall under the Prime Minister's office. I know in the estimates he sought to create all kinds of alarm in relation to what heads fell under the BTII. And therefore, the Honourable Member and Minister for Agriculture, in speaking in relation to his portfolio, which would cover markets, is speaking correctly that no decision has been made or even communicated to him in relation to the moving of any vendors. At the point when the decision is made by BTI under the Prime Minister's office for any relocation of any vendors in this country for the redevelopment of any particular space, that information is communicated to the Ministry of Agriculture as it would be communicated to the vendors. So the Honourable Member is misleading this chamber yet again.
And there's never any intention, mischievous or innocent, to mislead the chamber. But on the matter of removal or non-removal, the public will now find it very interesting that this matter of removal of vendors has featured at a time when the World Cup is about to be played. Removal is the common word. Yes, that's the common word. So that whether the government intends to remove them or not, or whether the government had intended to remove them or not, the honourable member for St. Michael South East now says that if there has been a plan to remove, it is related to the need to refurbish. So we are refurbishing in time for the World Cup so that our visiting tourists and police officers from overseas will see brand new vendors' kiosks along Fontebelle and Cheapside. So let us, Your Honor, press on. I am grateful, and this country is grateful, and the vendors are grateful that the government has now confessed that what we read in the media is not true. What we read in the media, and the honourable member for the city is smiling, that what we read in the media, he was afraid too, that what we read in the media as to the government's proposal to remove those vendors, we have had 2 withdrawals from that position from 2 members of this distinguished cabinet. The country is grateful. So I, on behalf of this parliament, will now announce to the people of Barbados and to the vendors at Cheapside that the government withdraws from any position, from any position, my removal. Don't be distracted by that one. I'm more concerned with the vendors' removal. And the vendors at Cheapside and Fontebelle today can be happy that this government has no intention to remove them during World Cup, and that any removal will be related to refurbishment of their premises. They may be happy. Just don't let the refurbishments take place coincident with the playing of the World Cup. They need to make some money. They support families from that enterprise. So that since it was a fear that we all had, and it wasn't born with me, I read it in the media. The honourable member for the city, he read it as well. He unburdened himself last week when he cried and complained that this government is treating his constituents badly, that World Cup is taking place. He getting it too.
Honourable City of Bridgetown.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if there's a point of delusion, but I will stand on a point of order nonetheless. The honourable member is misleading the House. I never went anywhere up, down, or centre, Robert Street or George Street, to indicate this government is unfair or mistreating the people of the City of Bridgetown. All I ask for the City of Bridgetown persons to be included in the planning and the benefits of the World Cup Barbados. That is my point of order, sir.
I don't know why the honourable member for the city would want to visit you today, sir, and deny that he was on the radio last week or week before last, close to tears. And that shows that he cares. A man that is willing to shed tears on behalf of his constituents is a worthy representative. Yes, it came from your heart. I heard you on the radio, and my perception, my audio perception, is that you were close to tears on behalf of your constituents, and you attacked the government. He attacked the government, sir, last week. And the tears that he...
Honourable member for City of Bridgetown.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to thank the Honourable Opposition Leader for highlighting to Barbados that I do care about my constituency and, of course, my country. But at no time did I attack the government, and the last time I presented on this, I was close to tears, but they were tears of joy because the Ambassador Lynch had reached out to me, and he and the National Organizing Committee has assured us, and we've been working together. So it was really tears of joy. So the opposition leader may be half correct on this occasion in relation to my presentation on the radio. I indicated my concerns, which were genuine concerns, which came from the heart. And the tears of joy, sir, today is the fact that this is a loving and caring government who have answered the call to ensure that all and sundry will be involved. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
My recollection is that the tears were tears of pain, but you are now saying that joy had come in the morning and that there were tears of joy on the following morning. But my perception had been that you were crying the day before. I heard him, sir. I don't know if you heard him, but I was impressed that here was a man deeply concerned for the plight of the people he represented, that his representation of those people had been disturbed by his government, that his government, he said, this government unfairing my people, they're not giving them jobs.
Honourable member, Christ yourself. I thought we were debating.
The World Cup.
World Cup.
Yes.
So we prefer very
Yes.
much if we can, confine these speeches to
The World Cup.
yeah.
What?
The other stuff that you need to do, you can do that outside these hallowed chambers.
Yes.
If you want to speak to the honourable member for City of Bridgetown, as a comrade dictator, you can do that outside.
Yes.
But let us debate.
Yes.
Let us debate the.
Yes, let us stay with World Cup. And the honourable member for the city complained last week, before last or last week, that they're bringing this glitzy event to the city, Cricket World Cup, and his people can't get a job. That's what he said. His people are being excluded from the World Cup. That's what he said. And he said that on the day when he shed tears of pain. If he shed tears of joy the following day, well, that is his confession to make. But he did say that the event, the World Cup event is going on, and all the people in Orleans and Westbury Road can't get a halfpenny out of it. And on the next day, the government heard his plea because they don't wish, obviously, to alienate the people who live in his constituency, and maybe they rushed to him. I heard him subsequently say that he has got 1,200 World Cup jobs for his people. So the tears of pain did turn. I don't know how long these jobs lasted, though. So we're still on World Cup. We're still on World Cup. So while the honourable member for St. Philip South denies that he caused pain along Cheapside, and while the honourable member for St. Michael South East says that any pain, has to be endured for the purpose of refurbishment, and while the honourable member for the city now confesses that his constituents suffered alienation from this glitzy event, the government has now resolved its position to be this one, that the vendors are not yet going to be removed unless for refurbishment. And that there are 1,200 World Cup jobs that will be distributed somewhere in New Orleans. And Chapman Lane, 1,200 World Cup jobs. He didn't say for how long. Perhaps the Attorney General did speak of legacy, so that those jobs may well survive World Cup. We don't know what they are, but the people in the Orleans and Chapman Lane are looking forward to these high-paying World Cup jobs that will continue well into Christmas. Good. So we are resolved, the government has now resolved that issue of commerce for the sake of the vendors along Cheapside. The honourable member for St. James Central, a few years ago in this place, when we were in the other place during COVID, he came and he made himself a champion of vendors' rights. And he gave a historical disquisition on that morning, which was most impressive. I told him that. It was most impressive. He started at slavery and he came through all the years. And at the end of it, Barbados was convinced that he was the champion of vendors. And that if ever we were to title ourselves a nation of shopkeepers, he was the champion. And it would become a bit of a contradiction if today his two colleagues, St. Philip South and St. Michael South East, would have contradicted his championship of the vendors in this country. So that, again, he smiles because he remains the champion of the vendors, and he would defy the honourable member for St. Philip South and the honourable member for St. Michael South East. He would defy them any chance or any plan to remove the vendors from within Bridgetown. And he would hold hands now with the honourable member for the city and jointly rejoice over 1,200 jobs that will be given to the people in the city for World Cup. I hope that they're not holding their breath while they're waiting, because 5 million is going to Oistins. And I will come to that very shortly. But just to say again that I am glad that the government has received good legal advice, that if the government acquiesces in the location of vendors for 11 months, you can't come during a World Cup month and move them. You acquiesce in their act of locating themselves along the thoroughfare. And therefore, the government has received good legal advice that it is probably unconstitutional to acquiesce in a man or a woman locating herself for the purpose of vending during 11 months, and just because there's a World Cup, you try to remove them. So I'm glad. I was glad when they said unto me that you got good legal advice and that you have withdrawn from that threat to disturb the championship of the member for St. James Central on the issue of vendors' rights. Now, as I said, it would have been unconstitutional. So all that I had intended to say here today on the breach of those people's constitutional rights, it becomes moot. But just to say to those people in Cheapside and around, Cheapside and Fontebelle, that if the government or any of its visiting police forces during the course of the World Cup attempt to remove you, the government is infringing against your constitutional rights. Indeed, if the government intends to remove a person, it must give that person a statement in writing as to why it intends to remove them. And that statement, I've written for it. Or your advice I will write for it. But to the vendors, Your Honor, I will deal with that shortly. To the vendors, that statement in writing, I say this to the vendors of this country through you, sir, that if the government intends to remove them, or its visiting police forces intend to remove them, they must be given a statement in writing, and that statement must indicate to them that they are being removed in the interest of defense, public safety, or public order. Now, I am informed that World Cup, and I'd like to reflect on the Sri Lanka World Cup because of a young man called Carlos Brathwaite who gave us that World Cup. So that this is not about rejoicing on the result so much as it is rejoicing in what Sri Lanka did. I am informed that when the Sri Lanka World Cup was played, all of the vendors were present. None of the vendors, not one of them was removed. That tourism, there was a happy marriage between tourism and local commerce and local culture. Why then would a newspaper, and I don't think the newspaper derived that from gossip, the newspapers hear what they hear, and sometimes people leak things to newspapers. I know what the Honourable Member for St. James Central is about this. But I will not be distracted. So that I want to legally advise the vendors today. Rest easily, rest calmly. We have today managed to force a confession out of 2 ministers of this government. We have managed to do that. I am not aware as to whether the government went into any public domain and confessed that the vendors would be allowed to stay. It is this debate, it is this present debate that has forced those confessions, and we accept the confessions. The Honourable Member for St. Philip South has no intention of removing the vendors. In spite of what was leaked to the newspapers, he has no intention of removing them. The Honourable Member for St. Michael South East will not remove them unless it is being done through BTI for the sake of refurbishments. Let us settle it there, so that we settle the commercial argument, and we settle, in a sense, the cultural argument that our people who vend will be allowed to continue to do so, not because they have become a tourism site. They're not a tourism site. These are people of flesh and blood, and they do that for a living. They do that to feed themselves, to house themselves, and to do so for their children as well. I am very wary of people seeing, or visitors seeing, our local people as curios, objects of culture. No, they're people with lives like any other, and they must be respected as such. So that when the cultural argument is invoked, you can't see these people as objects for sightseeing. They're not objects for sightseeing. They're real people who are making a real living doing what they're doing. So that if the government had gone through with what others thought it was going through with, it would have been disturbing some worthy lives. So that, Your Honor, I think I have addressed the chamber as to the issues of cricket, the importance of cricket, what we thought was a threat as to the commercial lives of the people of this country, a disruption of culture, the possible offense to the Constitution of this country. And I am drawn to another aspect of the debate by the Honourable Member for the City, when he confessed that he had tears of joy at being after his protests, and he doesn't like me to use it, but I'm going to say it. What I heard on the radio was an attack on the government. You getting that? Or you're not listening to me? Good. What I heard on radio was an attack on the government. I was impressed. I was impressed that he had the courage, to say what he said. And as I said, I was also impressed that a big hardback man could cry. Some of us must learn to do that. And people cry because they care. And I respect and admire you for those tears, both of pain and of joy. The pain the night before and the joy that came in the morning. Now, so that he has received a lump sum in relation to cricket. The honourable member for the city has confessed to this country that he has received a lump sum of money. He has received a lump sum of money. Don't distract him. The honourable member for the city has confessed that he has received a lump sum of money related to World Cup to be dispensed among his constituents to receive jobs pertaining to the World Cup. We rejoice with him. We rejoice with his constituents, except he has confessed that he does not know how long the jobs will last. He hopes that it will be part of the World Cup legacy and that his 1,200 disciples will be allowed to have these jobs for as long as possible thereafter. I ask him not to hold his breath. Now, he brings us to the question of accounting. And the government is very curiously in this World Cup endeavor. I don't know if they are sending some of the money to Bank Hall or to Bush Hall. I don't know, sir. But the government, through its agent at Kensington, the ambassador, I wouldn't call his name, the ambassador has made a decision to send, according to them, $5 million to Oystins. I spoke to a constituent this morning. I paused so that the honourable member for St. Thomas can reply. I spoke to a constituent this morning. And I went, and this is for her again through you. I went to Oystins on Friday night. And the vendors there, some of them do not believe that $5 million will be spent on Oystins. They don't believe it. And they have, like me, had an opportunity to observe the $5 million work that is being done. I saw scaffolding. I saw painters. On the weekend, I saw men removing sheets of wood from the front of some of the kiosks. I was impressed by the lighting because I have told them for a long time, improve the lighting up here. Emulate Worthing Square. Do pretty lights and you will attract happier people. So I was very impressed on Friday night at the lighting. Except I am not impressed that this work is costing $5 million. I'm not impressed. How do you walk up to Oystins and look at an establishment and say, look, some of the $50 million that the taxpayers of this country have to repay, because I'm told, and this country is told that this government borrowed $25 million US for World Cup, which is 50 million Barbados dollars. So out of that 50 million Barbados dollars, this government has made a decision, having sent a man up to Oystins to look at a set of kiosks. They have sent a man up there to say, look, how much I want out of that 50 million? And he told the man, take out 5 million. Take out 5 million and paint the kiosks. Take out 5 million and buy some floodlights. Take out 5 million and sweep the place, and the public will be satisfied. This is a government that is guilty of not doing proper accounting. You cannot look at oystins. You cannot visually look at it and take out $5 million. How do you do that with taxpayers' money? The people there go up there on Friday night, Honourable Member for St. Thomas. Go up there on Friday night and ask some of them. I'll be honest here. I did not speak to all, but some to whom I spoke and some visitors to that establishment do not believe that it will cost $5 million to do what the government says it's doing. And if that is the case, and if it is related to World Cup spending, and it must be since it is coming out of ambassadors' coffers, the $50 million, justify it. Justify it. It is not private monies, it is the monies belonging to the people of this country. And they do not believe it, and I'm no expert, but I don't believe it either. I know what we believe. And at the end of it, I will tell you this. I will tell you this, not to be boastful, but the Constitution of this country, the laws of this country have appointed me as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee so we can come in here and smile with each other. And I love to smile with my parliamentary colleagues. It is therapeutic. You can't even get the name of the street. You should smile. You should smile. You can't even get the name of the street. I can smile. I can smile and ask the very serious questions. And I am in the course of having this parliament establish the Public Accounts Committee. And I've said it publicly and I will say it to my colleagues in here. Start putting your house in order. Start to put your house in order. How can you look at the Oystins facility? And of course the people there welcome the assistance. Of course they welcome it. Look, those places were painted a few months ago, couple years ago. We had plans with National Conservation Commission. I say this in the presence of the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central, who's been very attentive. He dances in Oystins a lot. And we were in active discussions, Your Honour, to build a brand new gazebo for the Domino's players in Oystins. The Domino's is a feature of Oystins that is very attractive to tourists. This government now has them under a mango tree on the opposite side of the road. Refused to build the gazebo for the Domino's players. And they're not from Christchurch South, you know. They come from all over Barbados, some even from St. Joseph. Some are from St. Joseph, some are from St. Peter, some are from St. John, and a few who can't play so well from St. Philip South. The government, I am asking this government, in this debate, what happened to the plan to build the gazebo? Why has this government refused to build that Domino's gazebo? The Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central is here. I will not be hostile towards him, except to say, through you, sir, that in my consultations with the National Conservation Commission, they have agreed to move it further east. They say they will build it, and that they're awaiting on the word from the Honourable Minister, who happens to live within a stone's throw of my house. I repeat, the people of this country are entitled to proper accounting. They're entitled to proper accounting. And that $5 million that has been disclosed to the public of Barbados, rest assured, it will come under the scrutiny. Are you frightened? Oh, that is what it is for? Well, here's another confession now from the Honourable Member for St. James Central. I am now able, sir, to draw confessions out from these members. We've had one from the city, one from St. Philip South, one from St. Michael Southeast, and now a fourth member of this government is confessing that it is quite possible that that $5 million may not be all intended for the works, at least not the building works.
Point of order, sir. On a point, sir, I think the records of this House will reflect that I have not spoken in this debate. It is therefore most improper
Honourable
for the honourable
in truth and
member.
in fact, what you said is an aside. You never said anything on your feet, period. So I don't understand how the honourable member for Christchurch South can make reference to any aside that he's hearing to hear. You have not spoken anything at all about any monies. Continue, honourable member for
Well,
Christchurch
thank you,
South.
sir. At least you have admitted, Mr. Speaker, that you heard the aside.
Yep, right.
Yes, you heard it too.
But you know the law, sir. You can exercise judicial deafness.
Yes.
That is what the law permits.
But-
because it was not said through this
Yes,
chair.
indeed.
Right.
But one will admit that the honourable member for St. James Central has such beautifully dulcet tones that even when he is in a side, it travels into one's ear. And I did hear him say that it seems as if I'm afraid of the 5 million.
But honourable member, therefore, you are not permitted or are not to be permitted in law to comment,
To comment.
given the fact that it was not authorized through this chair.
Right.
I've not even heard that.
That what? Oh, black it. I see.
Honourable member, you're being drawn into a size. You're being drawn into a size.
I don't know if Hansard has that, sir. But so what you are advising me to do, sir, is to ignore the fact that the honourable member for St. James Central say that I am afraid of the 5 million.
Point of order, sir. I did not say anything in this debate. I have not spoken. By way of aside, I suggested to the honourable member that he's afraid of Blackett and Ronnie. I do not know what else I could have said, sir.
Okay.
And the 5 million. So on his feet, that is his clarification. But I did hear him say that he frightened for the 5 million. But he didn't say it through you, sir.
Sir, we really ought not to be doing this. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have not spoken.
Honourable member,
And
he
by
wants to
way of
invoke.
a-
Honourable member, he wants to invoke the wrath of this chair.
Yes, sir. I don't want to invoke anything other than the truth. He says he's a man. He walks about Barbados saying that he's a man believing in justice and truth.
All of us.
And he should speak the truth.
Yes.
The truth is he's afraid of Blackett and Ronnie. That's what he's afraid of, sir.
But it has nothing to do with the debate. What pertains to this debate is the 5 million. And when the honourable member said that I am afraid, I obviously assumed that he meant that I'm afraid of the 5 million. So that I want to say to you, Your Honour, I am not afraid of the 5 million. I say that on my feet for the purpose of answered. I am not afraid of the 5 million because the people have not met the 5 million with comfort. And they want a proper accounting done. And if no proper accounting is done, by way of confession in this chamber, it will be done by way of evidence before the Public Accounts Committee. A time will come, and a time is coming, when this government, whether it is ambassador or the minister of tourism, he's not here today, will have to account to the people of Barbados for the large sum of $5 million that is being spent on paint, floodlights, and brooms to sweep the facility at Oistins. There's a drainage problem there, sir. I haven't seen them working on it. The drainage problem down in the back. They haven't dedicated any of the 5 million to that. It is cosmetic work. But because you got 5 million, send it to Oistins so that my parliamentary colleagues will get to rejoice that 5 million going into Oistins and put him in trouble. It doesn't put me in trouble at all. The people are welcoming this 5 million. I think they want some, but it does not mean that they are so indecent as to allow a government to spend $5 million without proper accounting. And they're happy at the refurbishment. They're happy at the paint. They're happy that the strips of wood are being taken off and replaced with new strips of wood. But in a few months, the Public Accounts Committee may be making inquiry. And not only the Public Accounts Committee, because I know this government is afraid of the Auditor General. With justification. The Auditor General sent a report in here a few weeks ago, and it was not a happy report. It was not a happy report. And if I am to continue my theme of telling this government that it is under the scrutiny of the people of this country, take that very seriously. The squandermania that is occurring in government that has now reached World Cup spending is under the scrutiny of the people of this country. And like the member for the city, somebody at some point has to shed tears and ask for an accounting. And even if you're not asking for an accounting, you're asking for some of the bounty for 1,200 of your disciples, your political disciples. So that, Your Honor, that is my contribution to the debate. I had made a few weeks ago, I was criticized for coming in here and discussing law. I am still amused by that because the constitutional purpose of this place is to pass law, but I was criticized for discussing law, and I will accept the criticism, and I will continue to commit the sin of discussing law when it comes to legislation. I'm just reflecting that this legislation speaks to a bilateral relationship between the government and CWI. I expect, though, that the BCA, the Barbados Cricket Association, by way of some private treaty, would also be party to the relationship with the CWI and possibly with government. If the Attorney General finds it interesting, he will respond and tell us as to what is the role of the BCA, because no cricketing matter should transpire in Barbados unless the Barbados Cricket Association is involved. I expect that they would be involved, as I said, by way of private treaty, but the public law that is being brought to this Parliament today seems to exclude them. And as I've said, one expects that there will be a private treaty that embraces the BCA. We have seen the works that are going on at Weymouth, certainly when we drive home on evenings. The country naturally is excited, I think. Not as excited as they were in 2007, because this one is somewhat different. People are suspicious as to the accounting. People are suspicious as to the prices. This government has not managed to control the cost of living. And while we are all excited and happy at the prospect of seeing the games, too many Barbadians believe that they will not be able to see the games unless they give us the games on television. The pricing is high. It may be beyond the power of this government to have reduced prices. Perhaps the $5 million that is going to Oystins could have been used to subsidize tickets. Spend the people's money wisely. Don't subsidize the price of tickets. Don't use it for political subsidy. But the people are going to take it, you know. The people are going to take it. And it is quite likely that they will disappoint you. People still have their principles. Honourable member, I say this through you, sir, honourable member for St. James Central, people still have their principles. People still have their principles. So that those are my submissions. I ask this government in closing to be not weary, because it is not, we don't hang the PA, the Public Accounts Committee, over this government like the sword of Damocles. We just ask the government for prudence and transparency. So that if you are afraid, I'm so sorry that you're afraid. And if you're not afraid of the Public Accounts Committee, please be afraid of the Auditor General that y'all don't like. Simply because he sent a report in here a few weeks ago, and one legislator got up and said, oh, it is sent because we are being transparent, as if this government had a choice. It is a report directed to this Parliament. It was not government's voluntary act of publicly disclosing a damning report to the people of Barbados, to this Parliament. The Auditor General sent it. So you had no choice, this government had no choice but to disclose it. And having disclosed it, sir, it has pointed to the mismanagement and to the squandermania associated with government spending in this country. That millions of taxpayers' dollars are being taken up, and there's no delivery. There's no delivery of anything of value. That is what is happening in your beloved country, sir. So you want me, sir, to come to the World Cup? It appears as if the World Cup is going down the same path. I listened to a very sanitized presentation by the Attorney General, and Attorneys General, you do expect a sanitized discussion. They deal with the law and what is being done for preparation, the legal architecture. But when we go into that architecture, there are things being done within a beautiful architecture that are not in the interest of the people of this country. And the people of this country are weary of a government that is spending monies without proper accounting. And if one says sotto voce that I am afraid of the 5 million, if one says that, I haven't accused anybody now, if one says sotto voce that I am afraid of the 5 million, that becomes a confession that the $5 million may be used partially for politically unwholesome purposes. And if that is how government monies are being spent in this country, the people of this country should become afraid. The people of this country should become afraid that political support has been commodified by this government, that this government expects not to be judged on the quality of its governance, nor on the quality of its government, but that this government expects to be judged on the quality of its transactions. And I'm saying to you, sir, and I say to this country, that this government has reduced governance to a transaction. That if you want somebody to support you, you commodify them and therefore purchase them. And I am still on the World Cup debate that we are suspicious of $5 million without a proper quotation, without a proper estimate, without enough time being given to the project. We were first told in this country that the $50 million is for Kensington and for cricket development. That is what this country was told. That is why the people of this country do not and will not and cannot any longer trust this government when it comes to spending money. We were told a few weeks ago that we borrowed $25 million US dollars, 50 million Barbados dollars for the redevelopment of Kensington and for cricket development. All of a sudden, $5 million is destined to Oistins and Empire, the Pavilion at Empire, your constituency, Your Honor.
St. Michael West.
That's St. Michael West?
I remember.
Spartan, your beloved Spartan. We could do with some. If you're talking cricket development, the Honourable Attorney General says he doesn't know anything about cricket. Number of cricket clubs across Barbados. They put up a fence at Bayfield. And I've asked the minister to tear it down. I've asked him to do it. Spend some of the World Cup money on the ground. Spend some of it on the ground, smoothing the ground over. It used to be a cane field, so you would still find the odd undulation. They don't know anything about cricket. They don't know anything about cricket. You and I played cricket at KFL. We'll talk to them. But the $50 million should have been spent on cricket development proper, and Maple, and North Stars, and Bank Hall, and YMPC that needs assistance. They ought to have been given a part of the $5 million. There's no cricket field in Oistins. There is no cricket field in Oistins. And I took the honourable member for Christchurch West. Decent man. Decent man. Not that your colleagues are decent, but I like to point you out for your decency. And I took him to Carter's Gap with the Prime Minister. Lord, you know the place. I took him and the Prime Minister up there. They were both lost, but I took them. And we pointed at a large property, and we told them, and they agreed, both the Prime Minister and the honourable member agreed, that that part of the constituency, bereft as it is of any cricket or recreational facility. There's nothing in the east of my constituency. No recreational area in the east of my constituency. The little boys use private lands in Goodlands. I know my constituency. Don't mind the honourable member for St. Thomas. Don't mind her. I know my constituency. And we went out to that large property in Lower Carter's Gap and proposed to your Prime Minister, and your Prime Minister agreed 3 years ago. 3 years later, nothing has been done, but $5 million could go to Oistins for cricket development. That is the point. This $50 million is meant for World Cup and cricket development. What is it doing in, oh, you're pointing at me? What is it doing? You're warning me? What is it doing in Oistins? What is it doing in, yes, you can answer me. What is Cricket World Cup money doing in Oistins? They will accept it. They're grateful for it, but they don't believe, honourable member for St. Thomas, through you, sir, that any $5 million is being spent in Oistins. The time will come. The time will come when the audit, you're nervous? The time will come when the Auditor General, yes, you're nervous, you're frightened. The time will come when the Auditor General, yes, you're nervous and you're frightened. Well, you're moving around the chair very much. The time will come when the Auditor General and the Public Accounts Committee will have questions to ask about the $5 million. People from St. Lucie to St. Philip don't believe that any $5 million is being spent in Oistins. And I can raise my voice here today because I want this to be a memorable part of my debate that you have designated, you claim to have devoted $5 million to Oistins, and there is no evidence of it. Yes, it is not allowed. I'm wrapping up. I know you didn't want to hear this. Give account. Give account. Give account. Don't point at me. Don't point at me. Give account. So, Your Honor, I have listened to a very sanitized debate from the honourable member for St. Joseph. He did not expect this nature of response. He saw me smiling with him, and therefore he assumed that we would have had well, we always have a civilized exchange, but he expected a friendly exchange. He expected something more friendly. But I have ended, Your Honor. I have ended by putting this government on notice. I have ended by putting this government on notice. You can get frightened. The Attorney General did not order the spending of $5 million. The honourable member for St. Thomas did not order the spending of $5 million. The honourable member for St. James South did not order the spending of $5 million. I see her moving around as well. She's nervous. They did not order it. And the heads are bowed now. Heads are bowed. Hold up your head. Hold up your head and tell the people of Barbados where this $5 million is going. Where it going? You're frightened. You're frightened. You will be called. Are frightened? Oh, but now she is speaking like the honorable member for St. James Central. She now says, I frightened too for the $5 million. Look at how the confessions come in. Look at how the confessions come in. They are admitting that this $5 million is a political subsidy. Should I respond to that aside from St. Thomas, sir?
Please.
I will not. I will not. I don't know why every time money talk comes to this parliament, people become so agitated. Sit and listen. There's always another side to the coin. And the Attorney General spoke to the very shiny side of the coin. Just let me expose the part of the coin that is not so shiny. Just let me expose the part of the coin that is shady and mucky. You like that? Yes, mucky. It is mucky. Bring an accountant. Bring an accountant. Don't worry about him. Bring an accountant to the people of this country. Your Honor, obviously, we support Cricket World Cup. We support the wholesome initiatives of government. We support a government that has been careful to pass legislation, and two bits of legislation that we debate in cognate style today. We do not resist the initiative for visiting forces. Obviously, if you're going to be having dignitaries, they would want the protection of people who know them and so on. I don't expect that the Honourable Attorney General is saying to this country that he will deploy visiting police forces along Fontebelle or Cheapside. I don't think he will do that, so we wouldn't say anything that sounds facetious like that. So we support the government's efforts to make the cricket a success. It is just the shady side of it that we cannot support. Yes, shady. You got to explain to the people of Barbados how $5 million get from Kensington all the way to Oistins, and bypass YMPC, and bypass Dover, and bypass Maxwell Cricket Ground, and bypass Bank Hall, and bypass Spartan, and all the way to Oistins. Cricket development? Show me a cricket pitch in Oistins. They're painting. And if I go on any further, I'll be repeating. I think the point is made, sir, that we are not impressed that that $5 million has anything to do with cricket development. We suspect, and when I say we, the people in Oistins as well, suspect that it is part of a political subsidy, and that a time will come when they will have to give account for the spending of that large sum of money, when we have people in this country who are not doing well, and you take $5 million and send it up the road and no account. So, Your Honor, I don't wish to repeat it ad nauseum. We cannot, you can talk about that all the time. I am not here to make you comfortable, you know. I am not here to make you comfortable. I am not here to give you comfort. I am here on behalf of the people of this country to seek accountability in government. And there is a shady side. You cannot interrupt the honourable member. The speaker does not wish to hear interruptions. You will get a chance to tell the truth if you are so minded today. Today, if you are minded to tell the truth today, you will get that chance. I don't know, whenever I come here, the member for St. Thomas wants to wrestle with me. Whenever I speak the truth, she starts to wrestle, sir. Please keep her quiet. Your Honor, we support the initiatives. We support, don't worry, we support the initiatives. towards alone, but not lonely. I am alone out here, but I am not lonely. The people of Barbados incline their ear to my discernments more than they do to the collective of you. You don't understand that yet? When is that reality going to visit you? When is that political reality going to visit you? That your credibility has gone. That when it comes to the question of spending taxpayers' dollars, you're gone? You're running? You can't be going to a funeral you're wearing red. Stay and take the lashes. Stay and take the lashes. Stay and take the lashes. You got already, you ain't going to the funeral.
Honourable member, please stick to the bill, honourable member.
Yes, yes. So that, Your Honor, those are my submissions. That is my presentation. Those are the concerns I express on behalf of the people of this country. That there's a shadowy side to World Cup preparations. And after having heard the highly sanitized presentation by the Attorney General, I invite the people of this country to look at the other side of the coin and to remain suspicious and to put the Auditor General on notice. And the Public Accounts Committee is obviously on notice as well. Your Honor, I'm obliged to you.
Honourable member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And after sitting for quite some time to listen to the rather ill-informed exposition from the member from Christchurch South, I thought I would try to bring some clarity to be able to explain a little bit of the spend at Oistins. First, let me say, Mr. Speaker, you know, it is a Barbadian tradition that if people are coming to visit your home, you would clean up the place, make it presentable, and make it acceptable to those who are visiting. But if Mr. Speaker, you are accustomed to discord and confusion and people begging for your removal and people lodging no confidence motions against you, well then maybe you would not consider fixing up the house to be something that is appropriate. But we are not of that similar mind. We believe on this honourable side that if people are coming to visit, that the house should be in good order. And obviously, the honourable member for Christchurch South does not appreciate that concept or that idea because of the discord in his house at George Street. But Mr. Speaker, let me just go further and say, you know, sometimes when a member moves from one side to the next side, he does not realize what his party signed on to in the beginning. And I would draw to the attention of the honourable member what his new party had signed on to in the beginning. Because this upgrade of Oistins was signed on to
On a point of order, sir, I don't like to interrupt him, but what he's about to say, he will want to satisfy this chamber that it is relevant to the debate, that it has something to do with World Cup.
Honourable member, that is my portfolio. I determined that you don't.
I'm raising it.
But you can't raise it.
Just in case. Don't quarrel with me, sir.
I'm not quarreling. Honourable member, you cannot speak in futuro. You cannot speak what is to happen.
Yes. I feared the path you was
That
about
is
to
not
travel.
a point of order.
And I was just alerting you, sir.
You cannot, thanks, but you cannot alert me.
You're welcome,
something
sir.
to happen in the future.
You're welcome, sir.
You know, I heard your member talk about drawing out people. Well, has he now been drawn out? Has he too now been drawn out? this is about oysters. Well, how many times Hansard could pull and say, the man said, oysters, oysters, oysters. Well, I am telling you, this is about oysters. Mr. Speaker, in March of 2018, when it was the then administration that he is now the political, well, I know for now he's the political leader. I don't know how much longer he's going to be the political leader, because if that no confidence motion succeeds.
Honourable member.
Oh, Lord.
Honourable member, is your point of order?
Some reference to 2018. Does it have anything to do with this
That
debate,
has not,
sir?
Honourable member, I am the
You're waiting on him. You are more patient than I
Honourable
am,
member.
sir. I'm not as patient as you,
Honourable
sir.
member, when I speak, you say. I am the sole authority as it relates to relevance. That this is my domain, and I make rulings based on that. That is not your domain or authority, Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Mr. Speaker, let me assure you this is absolutely and totally relevant. Under the previous administration, in March of 2018, the government of Barbados, Inter-American Development and the Inter-American Development Bank entered into a loan agreement. This is 2018 March, before this administration, for the amount of US $20 million for the financing of the National Tourism Program. The National Tourism Program forms part of the IDB Barbados Community Strategy 2014 to 2018
Your
and
Honor,
2019
you have been,
to
a point of
20.
order, sir. A point of order.
Honourable member for Christchurch.
I have confessed that you are far more patient than I am. Now he has identified what it is about. What does the National Tourism Program have to do with World Cup that is before this Parliament at present? Oh, you want to say some more? I will defer until he makes it relevant.
Honourable member, be careful with your consistent and constant interruptions. As I said, you're not standing on any points of order. I am the person authorized to rule on them. And I do not wish to lose my patience. That is all I will say, Honourable Member.
Yes.
For Christchurch. So.
And Mr. Speaker, you are aware that during my presentation, there were several points of order raised, and indeed there were several sotto voce interruptions, and you asked me to exercise judicial deafness. So I just want to remind the chair of
that is what I did, yes.
So I will try.
I'm authorized to
I will try to approach that higher standard than they do, and I will be more patient with them. I know you're asking me to meet a higher standard than they reach, so I will abide by your rulings. I'll agree to be more patient, and I will agree to reach a higher standard than the government's members in this parliament.
And be wary of the interruptions.
Yes, I will try not to interrupt them as much as they interrupt me.
Honourable Member, the term is not interruptions that you raise on relevant point of orders. That is what the standard orders allude to.
Yes.
Nothing else. So the interjections, etc., if there are no points of order, I will not tolerate them at all.
As it pleases, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me go further. As part of that US $20 million that his administration signed on to, $20 million US, Oyston's waterfront improvement and upgrading project, Mr. Speaker. The same things that the honourable member when he was on this side was asking for. Installation of a new drainage system. Renewal of auxiliary road where arts and crafts vendors are located as a means of addressing the existing drainage problems. Installation of a new lighting. Mr. Speaker, this was a previous program. All we did was bring it forward because we knew that Cricket World Cup was coming and we had to make our place look better. But if COVID had not intervened, these things would have been done already. And let me make it clear, it is not only for the visitors, because visitors only for here for a couple of weeks. It is for the people that enjoy oysters every Friday night. What nonsense! What nonsense! The member for Christchurch South come in here and talk. I can't believe it. But you know, I did not, I held my breath. I kept my powder dry because I have the facts. I have the facts. He has conjecture. The honorable member is totally entitled to his own opinions, but he is not entitled to his own facts. I have the facts. And let me give you the facts. First thing, public tender. This matter went to public tender through bonfire, and it was, I can read the public tender. I have it. I have the public tender. It went to public tender through bonfire, which is the public tender process, and I can read it. Where is it? Parliamentary thing. I can tell you exactly what it is. RFP for the refurbishment of Oystens Paving Works, BTI RFP 4. The government of Barbados wishes to undertake the refurbishment of the Oystens Bay Gardens by June 2024.
Mr. Speaker,
public tender.
Is this being made a document of the House? And if it is so being made, you will want to hear a date. Don't let him bring his phone in here reading foolishness.
Honourable member, you're out of place. I determined this. Yes, honourable.
You determined that too?
Yes.
But I'm just raising it.
No, but honourable members, it relates to documents. Anything that you raise from, I asked the honourable member that. So you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yes, but what
honourable member for Christchurch South.
Yes, and what I have observed, Your Honour, in your management of these proceedings is that you normally, when a person starts to read a document, you will inquire of that person whether he wishes to make it a document of the House.
Honourable member, with the greatest of
I'm not usurping your function.
Honourable member, I will not allow you to.
Indeed.
You'll be totally out of place.
But please ask him to make it a
Honourable member,
if he's willing.
Honourable member, please sit down.
I beg your pardon, sir.
You cannot tell me what to ask for with the greatest respect. You are woefully out of place. Totally, entirely out of place.
Mr. Speaker, I have absolutely no reservation to make something that was in the newspapers of this island a document of the House. And I can go further because it was a public tender. Where is it? Bay Gardens facility by June 2024. The vision for the works is to undertake a refurbishment of the facility that will entail replacement of damaged elements, awnings, gutters, roof sheets, timber posts, the construction of pergolas, a new gazebo, moderate improvements to the stormwater roadways, drainage system, refurbishment to the existing entrance sign, construction of container bathrooms, general painting, and also refurbishment of selected tourism areas. And it goes on and on and on as to it. I will get you the date, relax. But what I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, it was a public tender. And first and foremost, Mr. Speaker, when we have a public tender, professional people tender to this. Professional people who are able and capable of pricing their works and what they have to do. It was then scrutinized and they accepted. So I have no reservations at all. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, for the honourable member to suggest that $5 million, well, $5 million is too much to spend on the people of Barbados. Where did he get that from? $5 million is, I haven't talked about Christchurch South. So $5 million all of a sudden is
Honor.
too much to spend
Your Honor.
on the people for Christchurch South and the
Your
people
Honor.
in Oistins.
Your Honor,
All member for Christchurch, so.
all I'm asking him to do is to give you a date on the document. That's standard and that's courteous. Why is he refusing to give you a date, sir? Please give it. Please give His Honor, the Speaker, a date.
Continue, all member for Christchurch, right?
You know, Mr. Speaker, the
Swinging like
Honourable...
blind Nelda. He's swinging like blind Nelda. He reading something. You have no idea what it is he's reading.
Honourable
Not
member-
verified by any date. I want some proper
Hon-
procedure. In here, he
Honourable
can't get
member.
up and look at his phone.
Honourable member,
I beg your pardon, sir.
please be seated.
Mr. Speaker, I think the no confidence motion against your member has him so upset, so unbalanced. You know, the question is, you know, he may be sitting as the member for the Democratic Liberal Party today, but we don't know how he can be sitting tomorrow. We don't. No, I think either independent or you gotta go and form a new party, because I am sure that Honourable, Mr. Speaker, the people that actually have the power to put him out are the people that brought the no confidence motion. Because it is the leader and the general secretary, but them is the people empowered.
Your Honor, you rule are relevant, sir.
Honourable member, this chair rules on relevance, not you. You cannot remind me. You cannot even remind him. Continue, Honourable for Christchurch West.
So, Mr. Speaker, you know, to my mind, if somebody were to tell me that they were going to come and spend $5 million in Christchurch West to enhance the lives of the people of Christchurch West and those that come and frequent Christchurch West, and to help the vendors make a better dollar in Christchurch West, I would be so thankful. I would be so thankful. I wouldn't be threatening them at all. I got to find out where every cent was. Yes, of course we want probity. Yes, of course we want good governance. But to know that $5 million is going to be spent, and you know, for the honourable member to suggest that codifying politics, that it was political motivations, was political motivations started by his administration when they signed the loan for the same refurbishment. So all of a sudden, when it was his administration signing for refurbishment, it wasn't political motivation. No, it wasn't. But now, when this administration brings it forward to be done now, it is political motivation. Well, that's double speak. You remember, you know, in other parts of the world, they would say, he does speak with forked tongue. He does speak with forked tongue. So, Mr. Speaker, I know in my heart that the people of Christchurch West would be more than worthy for $5 million to be spent to upgrade. If somebody was to tell me they was going to upgrade Accra for $500,000, not even for $5 million, I'll be rejoicing and thankful. So are the people of Christchurch South unworthy of $5 million? Are the people of Christchurch South? The honourable member needs to search his heart. Maybe he's the person that needs to shed tears. He is the person that needs to shed tears. Talking about tears and how a big able man can shed tears. Well, I know he can shed tears when they put him out of George Street. I know that he can shed tears then. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, it was the weekend nation of April 5th that the tender was put out. April 5th, weekend nation of 2024. It can be, it certainly wasn't 2018. It certainly wasn't 2018 when your administration signed the loan for $20 million US. $20 million US for party program. I think my boy complained about $5 million. Barbados.
Just a point of clarification so that the honourable member is, I just want this clarified. He's saying that an RFP went out on April the 5th, 2024. Today is April the what, 3 weeks ago. And within that short space of time, not only has the bid been granted, but the works have started and so on and so forth. So in that short record space of time, they have determined that 5 million. I just point of clarification.
What's the point, guys?
I just want him to clarify that this bid first went out, this RFP, on April the 5th, 2024. We are in record time. I just want him to clarify that. That is when the RFP went out for the first time.
Honourable, continue, Honourable.
We are at high speed in these commercial transactions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to get on to the scope of works. I want to get on to the scope of works because it is clear that the honourable member is totally rattled. His total speech has been totally demystified, taken down, and ripped apart. Because clearly he did not know. He was totally unaware that it's his administration that started the whole process. Totally unaware. Totally unaware. Anyway, refurbishment of existing kiosks. Refurbishment of existing washrooms, replacing all the sanitary ware, replacing all the wall tiles, repainting the interior and the exterior, replacing the defective windows and doors, including any defective ironmongery, new bathrooms to the east, refurbished by 2 20-foot containers to be located to the east of the compound, connecting to the sewer network, complete with toilets, urinals, sinks, electrical fixtures and fittings. Refurbishment to the fish market main structure. You know, Mr. Speaker,
Long overdue.
when last was any refurbishment done at Oystons, at the fish market, at the beer garden? Did the Democratic Labour Party do it? No! They did not do it. The Democratic Labour Party never did it. They were the administration for 10 years. Did not change a sink faucet. Did not change a faucet.
Honourable member.
Point of order.
What is the point of order? What is the point of order?
I just want the honourable member to be aware.
What is the point of order?
Yes, this is the point of order.
I'm listening.
He is giving the chamber the impression, the House the impression, that these works that went out under that RFP are being done for the first time. He is therefore implying that the honourable member for St. Michael's South was derelict in his duty.
Honourable member,
let me say this, sir, please.
Honourable member, there's no point of order. Full stop. There's no point of order. Continue, Honourable Christ. Honourable member, there's no point of order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will not be distracted. The honourable member for Christchurch South could get up 10,000 times. I will make it clear to this honourable chamber and to the people of Barbados, the Barbados Labour Party is doing the best for them time and time again. Improvements to the storm water system, roadway and hardscape, flushing the storm water system, identifying the source of the blockages, and carrying out all corrective action. Mr. Speaker, in addition, repainting any surface areas that are currently painted, repaving the roadway, removing pavers and replacing with new pavers, refurbishment of the existing benches, making good and repairing. And let me be clear, I am the person that went up there and met with the police, the NCC, the vendors, the coastal, everybody. And I heard and I listened to what they wanted. The police especially on the lighting and what the car park had to be done to make the car park better and safer. And as much as people thinking only about the vendors, I invited him, he ain't come. He ain't come. Dereliction of duty yet again. Dereliction of duty yet again. I think he was going to send a PA. No, he was going to send a PA. He was send a PA. Refurbishment. I ain't sure. I ain't sure who he fired, but I know he can soon get fired. I ain't sure who he fired, but I know he can soon get fired. Anyway, Now, the honorable member talk about a gazebo, many men is played dominoes. Demolition of existing gazebo and construction of a new gazebo together with foundations, footings, foundation walls, ground floor slab, rafters, T111 siding, everything, building a new gazebo for the guys. Upgrades to the external lighting, removal of existing and replacing with new. Upgrades to the entertainment area, new stage lighting, repainting existing elements, extension of handrails for safety, installation of new ceiling sheets, new signage, ways to find it, key points, upgrades to the garbage disposal area, installation of barbed wire around existing walls, removal of neem trees in the car park of the fish market. The roots were damaging the asphalt of the car park. We need to make the whole car park better, make the whole facility better and more inviting. That is exactly what we are doing. Construction of new structures, paving works, repaving the main car park and the fish market car park, replacement of existing tenting, replacement of approximately 60 tents with commercial grade PVC covers, heavy duty frames, 60 benches so people can work. But Mr. Speaker, Oistins is getting a complete overhaul. For just, Mr. Speaker, for just $5 million. Not the 20 million US, 20 million US that the other member party signed way back in March of 2018. Mr. Speaker, these are good commercial people providing good work for the people of Barbados. And I am happy that the people of Oyster, even although the member parliament for the area don't want it, I am happy for the people of Christchurch. I am happy for the people of Christchurch South to benefit from it. It is a tremendous opportunity for them.
Your Honor. When it dies down.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Is he permitted, just asking this question, is he permitted to say that I said I don't want it? Is he permitted to say that?
He has said it. He has said it.
That he's saying that?
Yeah, he said that.
And is he permitted to mislead you, sir?
I don't. Honourable member,
right.
that is not a point of order. It's not a point of order, honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, when one listens to the tenor and the tone of his whole speech, it is obvious he does not want it. It's obvious. It's obvious. But let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, I spoke to I don't know when last he spoke to the vendors. I spoke to the vendors. I met with their representative. At first, I can tell you, and I'm being truthful, and I tell you straight as it is. That's the only way I know to be. What we wanted was a retractable canopy. So that when sometimes they could pull back the canopy, like forward, back and forth. The vendor said, very good, Minister, that's what we want. We want something that is erected there full time, that we don't have to be pulling it back and forth and so on. And I listened to what the vendors wanted, and we said yes. They give us a sketch, and we put it in place because we are about serving the people. We are not about serving our own political expediency. We are not about that. We are not about that. We're not about political survival and who and which no confidence motion come and when it come and who table it and whether it was official or not official and all that rubbish. We about getting things right for the people of Barbados. We are about getting things right to make sure that Cricket World Cup is a success. And we are going to make it a success. Whatever we have to do, we're going to make it right. Mr. Speaker, I was going to talk about Kensington as well. And if I have any time, if it permits me, because not only is work being done at Oistins, work is being done at Baxter's Road as well. It was previously for the Urban Development Commission to do it. But what we have said, we're going to bring that forward and get it done urgently. What does that mean? That means the car park, where right now it is marl, that is going to be done up. Again, the similar thing for the kiosks out there. We're going to do an upgrade for Baxter's Road as well. Because Baxter's Road cannot be left out. It's going to be Oystens and Baxter's Road too. And let me go further. Let me go further. Let me go further. And let me be clear. Let me be clear, Mr. Speaker. Kensington has also gotten tremendous upgrades. Hall and Griffith Stand, refurbishment of the ceilings, making good repainting of the walls, retiling of the floors, refurbishment of all the suites, press briefing rooms, bathrooms, refurbishment of all the seating, roof resheeting, Hewitt and Ennis Stand, refurbishment of the suites, venue operation center, bathrooms, breakout rooms, changing out the ceiling tiles, making good the grids, repainting the internal and external walls, replacing the carpet with new, replacing air conditioning systems, replacing defective. When last was an upgrade done at Kensington? Either. Did his administration do any upgrades at Kensington Oval? During that lost decade, what did they do for Kensington? Why, if you want to get up on a point of order, get up now! Get up now and tell me what was done at Kensington during your administration's 10 years. Get up now! Get up and tell us! No, you get up and tell us! Honourable member, I'm going to address the chair. I'm going to address the chair, please. I'm going to address the chair.
Please do not address. Please do not address the Honourable Christ.
Clearest pavilion. Replacement of ceilings. Making good internal works. Replacing the carpet. New lockers. Replacing the doors. Refurbishment of the, what do you call that? The cryo spas, the ice baths for the players. Refurbishing the dining areas, air conditioning systems again, defective faucets. And it goes on, stand by stand by stand, 3 W's, Greenwich and Haynes. But it went further. It's not only the stands that we did, the lighting. We did the foundations for the lighting. Got all the external works done. External works. Where it is. Replacement of the Ruberock product. Laying concrete areas between players and 3 W's. New screens, Mr. Speaker. New screens at Kensington. Upgrading the temporary stands, putting up the temporary stands. Technology components. ITV. All these things.
Honourable member, I wish to hear the honourable member for Christchurch West.
Mr. Speaker, this administration is very cognizant of how money is spent. This administration works very, very hard every day to protect the public purse. We protect the public purse. We recognize that we have to, because who else? We are here as custodians of the public purse. And we make sure that we check all monies that are spent. And once we are satisfied, then the money can be spent. This administration,
Honourable member, I have warned you to stop.
Joseph is interrupting.
No. I'm speaking to you, Honourable member. I'm speaking. I've warned you repeatedly. Please allow the Honourable member for Christchurch West to continue. Please allow.
Mr. Speaker, I commend this matter. I fully support the bill before us. I fully support all of the works being done in preparation. I fully support the $5 million being spent at Oystens to upgrade it for the people of Christchurch South, even although the MP does not. I fully support everything that this administration is doing to make Cricket World Cup 2024 a resounding success. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged.
Honourable member, Honourable Leader Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2:45 p.m.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman be suspended until 2:45 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 2:45 p.m.